Yep. All right, here we go. Welcome in, everybody. I am Pugs Moran. This is the rant for a Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday, the 18th day of February, live from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios in beautiful Burbank, south side of Chicago, Illinois. All right, good to be back. Excuse me. Yesterday, I see in the chat room already. We've got some Mike. Mike didn't realize no show yesterday. Mike's like, no show yesterday? Well, I told you all. I told you. And of course, we got Maddie jumping in, answering all the Maddie is working the chat. I like it. Maddie's the executive producer now of the show. We're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. I love that. Thank you. Mike had a comment in the chat room. I didn't see it. Maddie knew the answer. She speaks for the show. Appreciate you, Maddie. She says, that is correct, Mike. Pugs announced last week there would be no show yesterday due to personal matters. Personal matters. Ooh, personal matters. I always, whenever I hear that applied to somebody else, I'm always like, ooh, what's going on there? Case in point, my Chicago Bears, my beloved, they drafted a football player last year, a corner who had some skills and some traits, and we were a little excited about. He didn't waste a first or a second. I think he was a fourth. But we drafted a corner, and this cornerback that the Chicago Bears drafted last year didn't play one down. As a matter of fact, he was like, he never suited up. He never did anything. He was placed on the injured, physically unable to, non-football injury list. And then there was no explanation for his name is Za Frazier. There was no explanation for what Ja Frazier's injury is. We're all like, well, why is this kid out for the year we just drafted him. He's out for the year with a non-football related injury. And now we're asking what that injury is. And all you're saying is it's personal. Za Frazier missed the entire season last year for personal reasons. And I have no idea what that is. I'm like, what is that? What could that be? Family problems at home? Maybe that's the case. So now, yes, yesterday's show was missed for personal reasons, and I have bad news for you. Tomorrow's show will be missed for personal reasons. Tomorrow's personal, I can absolutely tell you what tomorrow's personal reason is. Tomorrow's personal reason is because I need to go to the Department of Motor Vehicles, which is not what we call it here in Illinois. I don't know why I said that. I need to go to the Secretary of State, and I need to take my damn driving test. They are making me take a road test. I've been driving for 40 years. 40 years I've been driving a car. Well, it's time for you to take a road test again here in the state of Illinois. So I went to go take my road test yesterday. That was the personal reason. See what I'm doing here? I am telling you what the personal reasons are. So yesterday was the day that was my whole day was supposed to be, I had an appointment. You make an appointment. My whole day was down there at the Secretary of State yesterday. Got to do everything. I go in. It's time for the road test. I got all my paperwork in order. I got all of my shit. By the way, thank you to Maddie for helping me with another thing. And by the way, Maddie helped me with something, getting my paperwork in order. She helped me with something that I don't even really need. It's just like a backup, but that's how fucking prepared I am for this nonsense. Well, I wasn't prepared yesterday as I walk into the Illinois Secretary of State's office. Alex Giannopoulos. I don't know. We got a Secretary of State who's like direct from Athens. His last name is like got 50. It's Alex Giannopoulos, I think is the name. Anyway, I walk into the Secretary of State Alex Giannopoulos' office, and it's not enough. Again, this is a driver's license facility. So there's just, oh my God. I've said this a million times. Driver's license facility is where you go if you want to see the real America. You want to see what America really is? Just strip down all the bullshit and just really take a look at what America is? Go sit in a waiting area of a driver's license facility. Everybody is there. Everybody is represented. It's kind of amazing. And guess what? We all get along together. The driver's license facility, you know why we all, I'll tell you why we all get along together. And I'll explain what the driver's license facility is and what it represents. And I'll get to what happened yesterday and why I need to do it again tomorrow. No, I didn't fail. No, I didn't fail my driving. Okay, here we go. So the driver's license, I realized this yesterday, the driver's license place with a representative of every fucking walk of life. You got a 90-year-old Korean War white dude vet. You got a 40-year-old black single mom. You got a guy from China who I don't know what his deal is. You got teenagers. You got dirt bags. You got your mom. You got your aunt. It is just amazing the cross-section of people that you see sitting in the waiting area at the driver's license facility. And here's what's so beautiful about it. Here's why you never hear about fights. You know what you never hear of? I always tell you this every year. Crime statistics consistent as hell on this for like the last 20 years. In every jurisdiction in America that has a Chuck E. Cheese, okay, Chuck E. Cheese, the pizza places. In every jurisdiction in America where there is a Chuck E. Cheese, that Chuck E. Cheese is the number one spot for 911 responses. Meaning there are more police calls to Chuck E. Cheese. If your town has a Chuck E. Cheese, the cops are going to be really familiar with that Chuck E. Cheese. Why is this? Because Chuck E. Cheese is where divorced parents have birthday parties. And Chuck E. Cheese is where dad brings the new girlfriend. Chuck E. Cheese is where shit goes down, man, because adults can't behave themselves. Now, Chuck E. Cheese isn't a cross-section of society the way that the DMV is. Chuck E. Cheese, there ain't no rich people at Chuck E. Cheese. That ain't going on at Chuck E. Chuck E. Cheese is a working class place. Okay. Most violent place in any town that has a Chuck E. Cheese, that's where the cops are going to break up fights the most. Okay. And we explained why, because of, dad's new girlfriend or whatever. The DMV, the Illinois Secretary of State's office, is kind of the same situation where you have all kinds of different people forced together, except in the case of the DMV, you also have rich people. You also got like rich guys. Oh yeah, that's what's beautiful about these bureaucracies. Even the wealthy are inconvenienced. Not the super wealthy, like not Elon Musk wealthy, but like, the guy in your neighborhood that's worth like 10 million. He's fucking inconvenienced at the DMV. Here's why we don't have, you would think, man, well, the people, we hate each other in this country. Why aren't there brawls and brawls and brawls at the DMV? Why aren't DMVs or Secretary of State's office or driver's license facilities, why aren't these the places where the cops are being called to the most? Because we've established already that it's Chuck E. Cheese. But why the hell are we behaving ourselves at the DMV? And here's why. We have a common enemy there. We're not mad at each other at the DMV. We're mad at the fucking bureaucracy. We are mad at the people who are taking so long. Not us. We get along great, man. I saw this guy that I described, like the Korean War vet. That's at least what I think he was, because he was like 90, and it's not World War II, right? That's probably Korea. And he had his like little Navy hat on with all the like pins on it and shit. And this dude was awesome. And he is sitting there talking to a teenage black girl. I don't know what this guy's backstory is, but I'm sure he doesn't spend a lot of time talking to a teenage black girl. But he's sitting there talking to this teenage black girl about what it was like when he was taking his driving test. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. We all got along. Why? Because we all fucking hated that lady that was standing there at the desk that seemed to be taking way too long for shit. Anyway, isn't that beautiful? See, the DMV, the driver's license facility, is a microcosm for what we can be as a country. We can. If we all just understand that the common enemy isn't one another, that the common enemy is, in fact, the fucking bureaucracy, we'd have such a better fucking world. We really would, but we don't. We're angry at each other. We're angry at people who make just as much money as us. We're angry at people who also are pissed about the price of ground beef. We're angry at, that's who we're angry at, not the people who are in charge of all of those problems. No, we're just angry at other people like us because it's what? Convenient? Anyway, that was my trip to the DMV. I got to go back tomorrow. Now, here's why. No, I didn't fail any tests. As a matter of fact, written, perfect. Hi. You want to give me a rules of the road test? I'll go 40 for 40 because that's what I did. I went 40 for 40. Not true. I'm lying. I'm lying because I'm angry about the one I got wrong. I'm pissed about the one I got wrong because honestly, it was a 50-50 proposition and I took the wrong one. Here's the question I got wrong. How many feet are you required? Well, I don't know, this is the state of Illinois, so maybe it's different in Texas. That can be my out. The last time I had a driver's, I could say that I'm just used to Texas rules, maybe. Anyway, here's the question I got wrong. Before making a right turn at a stop sign, how far before the stop sign do you need to begin to signal? Chat room, here's your choices, okay? Okay, first of all, they give you 4 choices and 2 of them are always nonsense. So when I say I got 40 for 40, it's not really bragging because I don't know who these tests are made for, but they are made for the absolute dumbest. Who is failing these tests? It's a 4, A, B, C, or D. A is so remember the question is how far ahead of time do I need to signal before making a right turn at a stop sign? All right, so A, 1.5 miles. Okay, so that's fucking not right. We know that's not right. B, you don't have to signal. All right, well, that's fucking not right. So we can already eliminate those 2. C, 1,000 feet. D, 500 feet. All right. So obviously, because contextually I'm not a moron, I know that it's either C or D. All right. Because the first 2 are just what? So it's either C or D. So I'm sitting here going, all right, if I'm pulling up and I got a stop sign and I'm going to make a right turn here at this stop sign, how far ahead of time do I need to signal? 500 feet sounds good. So I said 1,000. And apparently I was wrong. Apparently, no. Wait, what was it? See, now I don't even know. Not whatever. I got that one wrong, but that was the only one I got wrong. All right, so that's the driving test. I'll also have you know I aced the vision test, which shocked the fuck out of me, people. I had LASIK. I wore glasses most of my life. As a teenager, I was prescribed glasses, and I wore glasses. And then around about 30 years old, I got LASIK, and they fixed my eyes. And now I wear these glasses. These are monitor glasses. These are glasses that I wear because, the computer screen is small and all that stuff. So I do, because of my age, like normal people my age, I use readers. But I don't need glasses for anything else. I don't, if I go to a movie theater, I'm not wearing glasses. If I'm driving, I don't wear glasses, right? But I thought maybe I might need glasses. I'm starting to get to the point now where when I'm driving, I'm like, wait, what does that sign say? Right? I'm squinting. I'm trying to get as close to the windshield as possible. So I was like, shit. So here's one of the hiccups that I'm going to get. I'll pass the written, I'll pass the driven, but the vision, they're going to get me with the vision. They're going to be like, you need to go see an eye doctor. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's covered. I don't know if vision is covered. Because America in 2026. But it turns out I'm fucking great, man. My vision was great. And when it was done, here's the vision test. You put your eyes in the little vision thing. So I'm like this, you do that, you look in there. So I'm looking in the thing and they're like, all right, do you see a flashing light? And I'm like, yes, I see a flashing light. It's like, okay, what side is the flashing light? I'm like, well, it's on the right side. I'm like, okay, good. Okay, do you see a flashing light? And I'm like, I do in fact see a flashing light. And they're like, okay, what side is the flashing light on? Well, this time, the last time I was on the right, this time it's on the left. And she's like, okay, very good. Can you read the center line? I'm like, the center line? Now, the center line is massive. The center line is huge. And I go, the center line? She's like, yes, read the center line. I'm like, okay, H165GB. She's like, okay, you're done. Your eyes are fine. I'm like, but they're not. But they're really not. That was a stupid test. That was not. So anyway, but I passed it. So then we get to the driving part, right? And so this is why I got to go back tomorrow. So you get to the driving part and they're like, first of all, driving myself to the place. Okay, first of all, I'm driving myself. I don't have so whatever. That's going to be a problem. Like, what's my story going to be, right? Like, what is it going to say? Okay, can you have the person who drove you here bring the car around and be like, nah, she left. They dropped me off. The expectation is that I'm going to pass because, you see, I've been driving for 40 years. So they just dropped me off with the car and now they're gone. But they'll come back if I fail, but I don't think I'm going to fail. See, I expect to charm this guy. I'm going to be charming. He doesn't dare not give me a driver's license. I've been driving for 40 years. All right, so we get to this point, right? And now I got to provide a proof of insurance for the car. Obviously, here's the registration. See, car, it's my car. Here's the insurance. Now, here's the deal. My insurance is a screenshot on my phone from my Geico account, right? It's a screenshot. It's what is acceptable to police from coast to coast. Police will accept a screenshot of your insurance if you get pulled over. So that's what I got. If I ever get pulled over, boom, hit the screenshot. There it is. I don't get pulled over because I'm a fucking great driver. But, I hear that's what works. And that's what, according to the Illinois, that's fine, acceptable for driving with insurance. Not good enough for the bureaucracy at the DMV, though. Not good enough for them. They're like, you got to go to the website and don't you have a card? I go, well, I had a card, but then, 1999 changed to 2000 and we do things differently now. I don't have a physical fucking insurance card, dude. Who does? Well, you're going to have to do that. So I had to reschedule. Flag on the play, got to reschedule. So that's why tomorrow we're doing it tomorrow at 11 a.m. And so no show. And I do apologize. How about you? You guys have any good experiences at the DMV? Let's talk about them. The phone number is, we don't have a phone number. We really don't. Let me say hi to the chat room, though. The chat room is in full effect here. Let's go from the very beginning. Let's see who is in first. We like to keep the chat room engaged, if at all possible. Are you spreading the word about the show? Are you sharing the show? I'm afraid to look. I don't know that the show is being promoted by you diehards. Some of you are just such diehards, and you don't share the show. When you see it in the morning, first thing you got to do is go, cool. You don't even have to say anything. I don't care. I don't want you to endorse me. And I do understand that sort of sharing is an endorsement, but you don't have to say anything. Just share it. Just spread it out to whoever you got. Maybe they'll go, hey, I'll check this out. So that's what we need from you. We need shares. We need likes. We need engagement. We need to help the algorithm because this show is growing. It is growing. It has grown. These efforts are showing actual results. So let's keep those going. Appreciate you guys. Be nice to new folks in the chat room. Let's see here. Let's get rid of we'll get rid of that. Let's say hi to the chat room. All right, Mikey D is in the chat room. Byron is in the chat room. Maddie's in the chat room. Hold on. I don't like the new chat, how it's like translucent or transparent kind of on the side here. I don't like that. Barney's here. Adam is here. Who else is in here? Anybody else? Fast is here. Good to see you. Of course, April's here. We got Billy Boy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Bill Folk. Billy's got a question. Billy's like, what's up, everyone? Pugs, can you discuss Shia LaBeouf getting his ass kicked on Bourbon Street? Oh, well, we discuss Shia LaBeouf. We'll not only discuss Shia LaBeouf, we've got our Mardi Gras correspondent live on the scene. Maddie's going to join us. She's down there. She is in Louisiana, and she has boots on the ground response to what Shia LaBeouf has apparently been doing down there in New Orleans since Thursday of last week. So that's coming up on today's show. Oh, yeah, we got video. Guys, are you following what's happening with Shia LaBeouf? And by the way, what is wrong with Shia LaBeouf? Shia LaBeouf is apparently he's divorced now. Like he was married to Mia Goth. I don't know if you guys know who Mia Goth is, but she is like a young actress who is really interesting, like seems really fascinating. And he should be with her. He should be hanging out with her because Shia LaBeouf's career isn't really happening right now. And his wife's career is kind of hot. Like Mia Goth, may not know her name, but trust me when I tell you that she is a hot commodity in Hollywood right now. She's best known as the star of those small independent horror films, the Maxine films. I don't know if you're Pearl, Maxine, these slasher horror films that are, and I'll tell you because I don't like slasher horror films, far better than the average slasher horror film. The stories are cooler. It's just, they're better done. They're like filmmakers are now making and Mia Goth is sort of at the forefront of that. And she's married to Shia LaBeouf. And apparently they have recently separated. So that might be a reason why Shia LaBeouf is on a bender to end all benders. So we'll talk about that. Also, maybe we'll get into a conversation about some of the great bender goers honors in Hollywood history. A lot of dudes in the history of Hollywood have gone on some epic benders. Charlie Sheen, we know about him. Robert Downey Jr. Hell, even Lindsay Lohan has gone on a few benders. So the latest is Shia LaBeouf. So we'll get boots on the ground response to that. Taronda is here. Leslie C is here. Hold on, let's keep going. The chat room is looking good. Let's. All right. Oh, there's Jeff. Jeff Ballard is here. Jeff Ballard, I need to say something to Jeff Ballard right here. It's been bothering me for a couple of days. So remember earlier we were talking about personal reasons, he's gone, he's absent for personal reasons. Well, what are those personal reasons? Well, those are personal. And, I like to just kind of stream of consciousness talk. So I'm not afraid of anything that I'm going to say because I truly don't believe I'm a bad person. So I don't really think I need a governor. And you people are kind enough that if I do say something horrible, I think you can put it all into context and then maybe even give me an opportunity to go, I didn't mean to say that. You may have noticed over the last couple of weeks, or certainly since maybe last week, that I've made some remarks about stuff not being great. Medical and all of that kind of stuff. So, and we're not even necessarily talking about me, right? So, I do want to put this out there though. None of this is about my kid. My fucking kid is fine. Okay. So don't anybody, but there are stresses as you get older and you start to deal with like new things. And to that end, I've been in a really shitty mood with a lot of people. And Jeff is one of the best dudes going. And Jeff has been a day one on this show. He's awesome. And this is going to seem like such a minor thing to him, but I have to tell you, these are the kinds of things that bother me. So Jeff and I talk a lot about TV in direct messaging on Twitter X, whatever you want to call it. Jeff and I both like TV a lot, and we exchange ideas and shows and all that kind of stuff. And Jeff wanted to talk to me a couple of days ago about the latest Game of Thrones thing, and not even wanted to talk to me. Like, he was just putting it on my radar. He was just like, hey dude, are you watching the new Game of Thrones Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I believe it's called? And my response to him was really short and really kind of assholey. I had watched one episode, and truth be told, I kind of liked it. I think I even came on the show and said I liked it. But now there's like 6 episodes and I haven't gone back yet and I haven't watched them. And Jeff was like, hey, are you watching it? And for some reason I responded like short and like a dick, like, oh, that's so sorry, something, I don't know. And again, we all go through things. We all get in these moods. And sometimes now with the accessibility of social media, you may run across somebody, a friend of yours, who's maybe not in the best mood and things. I didn't mean to respond that way to Jeff regarding the show, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And to that end, because of that, I went, oh, you know what? Jeff's got pretty good taste. I should probably check it out. To that end, I went last night and I ended up binging all the rest of the new Game of Thrones series, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And man, it's fucking great. Jeff was right. It's fucking great. It is great. Jeff is like, I think it's better than House of Dragon, which is the first Game of Thrones sequel. I don't know about that yet because House of Dragon is, got a season or 2 under its belt, and it's very good. I don't think House of Dragon is as good as Game of Thrones yet, and I don't think that Night of the Seven Kingdoms is as good as Game of Thrones yet. But I do think Night of the Seven Kingdoms might be better than House of Dragon. Might be, and House of Dragon's cool. So if you're a Game of Thrones nerd like me, here's how I would explain it to you. Game of Thrones, the original Game of Thrones, was tremendous because it mixed everything from just tremendously clever humor, really funny. Game of Thrones is really funny. Peter Dinklage is amazing. Littlefinger is amazing. It's very funny, and it's so smartly written by somebody who is obviously funny that the humor in the situations come out organically through the acting. And it balances the original Game of Thrones we're talking about. It balances that it's not a comedy with great drama, Shakespearean level drama. So that's why Game of Thrones was so great, because of the mix of drama and humor and everything was just in the perfect amount, and the show was just perfect in my estimation. House of Dragon, which is the first spinoff of Game of Thrones, House of Dragon went very serious. There's no humor at all in House of Dragon. It's pretty dark. It's violent. It's a little bit more mystical oriented, and it's spookier and darker and blah, blah, blah. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons I don't like to watch it is because it is shot so darkly that it's like hard to watch. It's like I can't see anything. And I got good TVs. All right, so that's House of Dragon. Very dark. No humor. This new Night of the Seven Kingdom is almost a comedy. It is leaning into humorous situations more so than Game of Thrones did, certainly more so than House of Dragon, while also being far more violent than any of the other ones. So the new one, Night of the Seven Kingdoms, is way more violent than any of the other Game of Thrones, and also has far more humor than any of the other Game of Thrones. I'm really enjoying it. It's an interesting sequel too to the Game of Thrones universe, and I don't want to get all nerdy Game of Thrones on you, and we'll wrap it with this. But the stars, the main characters in the Night, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is what the show is called. The main characters are Sir Duncan the Tall and Egg, who is his squire. Sir Duncan the Tall is a knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and Egg is his squire. Egg is a little boy who, I'm not even sure he's a little boy. He looks like he's like 7, but he talks like he's 30. I don't. Anyway, these two main characters of Knights of the Seven Kingdoms, these two characters have been referenced time and time again in both Game of Thrones and in House of Dragon. These two characters that we're watching in Night of the Seven Kingdoms is like a Robin Hood type children's story that is told in the universe of Game of Thrones. So it's like, Targaryen kids in Game of Thrones, when they go to bed, they get read stories of Sir Duncan the Tall and Egg. And that's just basically what the new series is. So the new series is, I don't even know that it's in the timeline. Like, I don't know if Sir Duncan and Egg are real or if they're fictional characters in the fictional universe of Game of Thrones. I think they're real. They are, because Egg is a Targaryen, and I think he's a real Targaryen. Anyway, long way for me to say, Jeff, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to be short with you, and I need to be better to you guys. You people, especially the Fabulous 15 who've been here since the beginning, I didn't mean to be short with you. Okay. Kevin's in the chat room. Yeah, he's changed the translucent chat. I can't. I don't know how. I have no idea. You're talking about this shit. I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't like it, man. I don't like it. Nobody fucking likes it. And I don't know how to get rid of it. It says, what is this? Demo? No, I don't want to touch anything. Maybe Ed can fix it. I don't know, but it is awful. Not a single person likes it. And once again, this is Restream just changing things because they want to justify a coming price hike, I'm sure. See, we're doing things. And because we're doing things, now we're going to charge you more. I'm like, but I want you to do things. I want the way that it was when I... So I am sorry, Kevin. Viewers can't read the comments on screen. I know, it's terrible. It's fucking terrible, man. But Restream, though. I'm wondering, Ed is the guy that knows all of this stuff. So Ed is who I rely on him 100%. But I sometimes wonder, Like, I watch a lot of YouTube people who are doing the kind of thing that I'm doing. Are they just using YouTube? Or are they, I mean, I'm not smart enough. I'm at the mercy of the smarter people. So that's why I'm not even comfortable complaining about it, because I am sorry. It will be addressed. Quite frankly, it's probably just a button, but I don't want to hit a button that I'm unfamiliar with, because you know how that goes. All right, today's show, here's what we're going to get into. Let me run down everything we've got. I told you we're going to have Maddie, and she's boots on the ground in New Orleans, going to give us a firsthand report of what's going on with Shia LaBeouf. He's driving the people down there in Louisiana crazy. Here's something else I wanted to mention. Here, let me show you this. I'm so glad that somebody put this on their Twitter box today. I woke up this morning. Look at this shit. Look at this. Hold on. Where do you see this? Because I had to do the driving test, right? I told you, we just did the whole story about how. So because I knew I was going to have a stranger in my car, I got my car cleaned on Sunday. It was a beautiful day on Sunday. I got the hose, you pull into those places and they give you the brush. You keep feeding the quarters and you wash the car. I did an amazing job of washing my car. My car looked great, and I'd be proud to have a driver's license instructor in my car. It looked good, and it was important that I cleaned it on Sunday, because maybe you don't realize this, but after you go through a winter, your car is a wreck. It is stained with salt and mud and it's filthy. Winter weather cars around about this time of the year are just filthy. And on the first beautiful sunny day, what you like to do is you like to get it cleaned. And in my case, I had to have a driver's road test, so I needed to get it cleaned. I woke up this morning and my car was fucking covered in mud. I literally had to go back into the house. I had to get a roll of paper towels and some Windex, and I had to clean every window. I was smearing mud off my car. Now, it rained last night. It's weird weather here. It's not supposed to be in the 50s, and it's in the 50s, and it rained last night, and it rained apparently straight up fucking mud. And I'm driving in and I'm not seeing a whole bunch of other people's cars like that. I saw a couple of dirty cars, but it's hard to tell because it's winter in Chicago and everybody's car is a wreck. White salt stains all over it and mud. And so I didn't know what was from last night and what was from me. I wake up, I go on Twitter and look at this guy. This guy knows. This guy's the same thing. He says, here, check this out. He says, what the fuck? Did it rain dirt in Chicagoland last night? Look at this, another guy's car. Look at that car. That's a good look. That's just straight up mud. We had raindrops filled with mud last night. My car's a fucking wreck. So now I got to get it cleaned again before tomorrow. So I'm glad. Kevin Barber, you're in the Chicagoland area. Oh, Kevin, you probably got a garage. Kevin's probably a garage kept dude. Anybody else in the Chicagoland area wake up to find their car just completely covered in mud? Jesus. And I was being a little bit dishonest. There is a car wash here near the studio where we do the show. This car wash is located at I think it's Ridgeland and 95th Street, right off 95th Street there. I'm driving in here. The line for the car wash, and I didn't even really put it together until just now when I'm talking about it, but holy shit, yeah. At 10 o'clock this morning, there was a line for the car wash. So everybody must have gotten their cars mudded on. All right. What else are we going to get into? We're going to get into some dark stuff that we're going to do some bad parenting stuff. There are just 3 stories about terrible, terrible parents. And I mean the absolute apex of bad parenting. There are parents killing their children. I can't even say that out loud. That's how do we... All right, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Maybe we'll do that segment. I don't know. We got dudes trapped on a mountain. We've got Zuckerberg is going to testify in California today. He may be testifying right now. Probably one of the most important moments in the history of us trying to figure out what social media is going to happen today in a courtroom out there in California. So we'll cover that for you. We'll tell you what's going on there. What else do we got? Iran. See what's going on with Iran? Khomeini, I don't know. It's not Khomeini. Ayatollah Khomeini is the guy that took the hostages. He was the boogeyman most of my life growing up. That's Ayatollah Khomeini. He died. They replaced him with a guy named Ayatollah Khomeini. It's one extra letter. I don't know. It's the exact same thing. The latest Ayatollah, he's out there. He's threatening Trump directly on social media. Imagine this during the Cold War. Could you imagine if like Brezhnev and Ford had Twitter accounts? I don't know why I randomly said Ford. We're going to talk about the Colbert versus CBS and how that affects my boy, Mr. Smith, James Talarico. He's had a wild 48 hours. Guess what's happening with James Talarico, though? Something that I told you hadn't occurred 2 weeks ago when we first started talking about him. He's being branded. He's being branded by the right. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about all the garbage surrounding both narratives being one Colbert's, two CBS's. So we'll get into all of that as well. Plus, let's see what else. Oh, that's fun. That's a fun story about sleeping. Here, stay tuned for this. Apparently, a new study says the temperature that you sleep at could be incredibly damaging to your heart. What temperature? Stay tuned. Stay tuned. I'll let you know. And also, we've got to take a moment here at the end of the show, and we got to figure out what's going on with our celebrity death trilogies. Celebrities have been it took a while in the year of 2026 for us to get our celebrity death trilogies rolling. In 2025, the first dead celebrity of the year occurred on January 1st. Boom! Right out of the box, we had a dead celebrity, and we started our trilogy on January 1st. This year, it took till January 7th before Bob Weir passed away. So he was the first celebrity dead in 2026. Robert Duvall passed away just the last show we did 2 days ago. And now we got Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson died yesterday. And there's a couple others as well. So we're going to have to figure out, where are we in the death trilogy? Celebrities die in 3. We know this. This is a fact. It's inexplicable, but it's a fact. Celebrities die in 3s. When they die in 3s, they must then live together for all eternity in the celebrity wing up there in heaven. Let's find out who's living together. Who's Robert Duvall? Is Robert Duvall and Jesse Jackson? Who else is with Robert Duvall and Jesse Jackson? We must do some accounting, so we'll do that at the end of the show today. We'll check in with the Olympics, and we'll have some fun. Last night, a UCLA basketball coach went off on a reporter for asking a stupid question. And we'll just go back in time and we'll revisit some of the great rants by head coaches and managers when asked stupid questions by the media. So we'll do that as well. All right. First, before we get started, and we are going to get started here just in 1 minute, I want to thank our executive producer. That's right. This show runs on your tips and your gratuities. We exist because of your kindnesses. You support this kind of talk radio. Talk radio exists in this country on the radio, but it's all right-wing, MAGA water-carrying bullshit. I know, because every time a decent job opens up, somebody calls me, hey, would you be willing to talk to this person? I've been doing talk radio in major markets since 1992, okay? I am not allowed to do radio in America anymore. Why? Because I refuse to just simply do the bullshit that they expect you to do if you want to be on the radio doing talk in America. So we do this. We've been doing this since 2021. There are no sponsors. There are no advertisers. We're not Tim Pool. We're not Charlie Kirk. We're none of these people. We are just organic and grassroots in nature. Been doing this every day at noon. Much to my great detriment, every day at noon since 2021, and you people have been here, and please continue to spread the word. Your tips, your monthly tips, is how this show continues. You guys just dropping like $5 here, $5 there. You know what? He's like my bartender, and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to listen to the show today for a couple hours. Here, I'll drop a couple of bucks in the tip coffer, and we'll keep the show going. That's how we do things. The person who tips the most from show to show is then awarded the title on the next show of executive producer. So if you decide to tip the show today and you tip the most, you will be the executive producer. Today's executive producer, there she is. Of course, it's Heidi. Heidi paid for the entire month of February. So January. Whatever. I don't know. We're always behind. Heidi is the executive producer until further notice, unless, somebody tips today, and then they'll be the executive producer tomorrow. But thank you so much to Heidi, and you can tip the show too if you want. All right, there you go. Again, programming note though, no show tomorrow. because bureaucracy is insane and I have to go to the driver's license facility once again. And I'd love to say, oh, it's quick zip in and out. I just got to take the driver's test. But you know that ain't going to be the thing. You know it's going to be 5 hours. It's going to be 5 hours. The actual thing that I'm there to do is going to take 5 minutes. But I will be there 5 hours. Doing nothing. Just sitting there waiting for someone to go, E243, right? That's you holding your little card. Okay, it's my turn. All right, here we go. Let's get started. The first thing that we should mention is that, are you following the situation going on out there in California with the trap skiers? There was an avalanche. We got crazy weather everywhere in this country. I told you about our mud rainstorm that we had here in the Midwest last night. They got a nor'easter brewing on the East Coast. Those people are about to get dumped with an insane blizzard. And then up in apparently Northern California, they also have insane blizzards going. I think this is up in the area where Jeremy Renner got ran over by a snowplow. I think that's basically the general geographical area that we're talking about here. Rescuers race to save 6 skiers who've been trapped by a California avalanche that's left 10 more skiers missing. Dateline, San Francisco. Rescue crews on skis and snowcats battled blizzard conditions in an effort to reach 6 backcountry skiers still alive but trapped Tuesday after an avalanche high in the rugged Northern California mountains left 10 other skiers missing as the danger of more slides remained high. The search and rescue crews were dispatched to Frog Lake in the Castle Peak area northwest of Lake Tahoe after someone called 911 at about 11:30 a.m. to report an avalanche with people buried. Hours later, Ashley Quadros, a spokesperson for the Nevada County Sheriff's Office, said 6 skiers had been located and were asked to shelter in place as best they can. Well, I imagine they're trapped, so that shouldn't be too hard. Right? Well, don't go anywhere. Well, what if I can go somewhere? Like, what if I can just come down the mountain and be safe? No, shelter in place. Well, good, because I'm stuck beneath like 30. What must that be like? I've got a little experience in this area. I was in a snow fort cave-in once. Okay, not the same thing. I was in a backyard, but it was pretty scary. It was pretty scary for a couple of minutes. There was hundreds of pounds of wet snow on top of me. I had to burrow my way out. I was able to. But I can tell you that it's pretty scary. It's pretty scary there for a minute. So I can only imagine what an actual avalanche must be like. The group was on the last day of a 3-day backcountry skiing trip, said Steve. Backcountry skiing trip. So these got to be like, that sounds to me. I don't ski. All right, let me just tell you, I don't ski. I don't know what a backcountry skiing trip is. But again, contextually, I'm just going to think backcountry. Okay, so it's probably off the beaten path. I'm guessing it's probably not the explored and secured ski slopes or paths that they may have adjacent to resorts and whatnot. I'm thinking backcountry means you're going to go fight some fucking bears on skis. Which, right from that point, I'm out. I'm like, yeah, no. I'm gonna stay. Here's my deal. We're going skiing. All right, I'm gonna be able to see the lodge at all times. How's that? I have rules about survival. I'm a middle-aged white man who's overweight, okay? I have to worry about my heart exploding. I have to worry about all kinds of things. You know what I don't need to add to that? I don't need backcountry skiing to add to that. I don't need rock climbing to add to that. I don't need to jump out of an airplane to add to that. And I don't need to swim in the ocean. You know about me. I don't swim in the ocean. You fucking people are crazy. This guy's swimming in the ocean. We saw that video last week of the surfer getting attacked by the shark. That shark had every right to attack that surfer. That's how I feel about it. Just like if I go wandering around in the woods and I get eaten by a bear, that bear had every right to fucking kill me. Just like if somebody if a bear just walks into my living room, I've got every right to kill him. So I don't do those things. I don't need these things. These people were adventurers. And that's the other thing about these like extreme athlete type things. When bad things like this happen, we should just go, it's pretty extreme. that should be it. I mean, you know me, I'm not one of these tax dollar guys, right? I don't like my tax dollars. Look, it is what it is. Our tax dollars get spent on nothing that we have approval of, and that's probably for the best, because could you imagine if we woke up every morning and we had to go through like an itemized list of shit that we have to okay? No, so that's not how it works. But anyway, yeah, a lot of money's being spent trying to find these guys. And all I'm saying is that maybe we oughtn't. Maybe we ought to just be like, yeah, that's why backcountry. It's why it's extreme. That's why when you go out there and you're at the bar and you're like, I'm a backcountry skier, chicks are going to drop their panties because, there's benefits to it. But also, you could die. And when you die, we shouldn't be surprised. We should be like, well, he went backcountry skiing. Did you hear about Tommy? No, what happened to Tommy? Well, he was free climbing on a rock cliff and he fell and he's dead. Okay, that tracks. That's what's supposed to happen. See, that's what's supposed to happen. That's why it's cool that you're a rock man. I'm not afraid of nothing. Guy scales a building in Dubai and falls to his death. Yeah, that's supposed to happen. We're not supposed to be like, we're supposed to be amazed when he doesn't die. That's the trick. Some dude wants to string a tightrope between, a couple of skyscrapers and walk across it and he falls. Right. That's what's supposed to happen. You plan a backcountry ski trip during a time of year when these kinds of weather things are expected to happen and you get caught in an avalanche. That's what's supposed to happen. I bet they were like, yeah, man, we're going during the extreme time of year too, man. Yeah, fucking extreme, dude. Extreme. And now you're trapped under an avalanche. My point is this: you want to ski, you go to a resort, you stay on the hills. They're pros. You go where they tell you to go. You don't need to be, out there fighting bears. Anyway, that's going on in California. Good luck to them. I don't wish ill on anybody. I hope they survive. But quite frankly, I got to be like, you did this to yourself. Let's talk a little bit about Iran here. Iran is in the news. Iran is saber rattling. All right, so we got Witkoff. Witkoff is like our chief ambassador, negotiator in charge. We got Witkoff and we got Kushner. We got the son-in-law. We got the daddy's boy. So we got Witkoff and we got Kushner. Now, where are they? In Paris? Sitting down around a table with the Iranian version of Kushner and Witkoff, I guess. So they're sitting there, and you got American, you got Iran, and they're trying to figure out a deal, right? Because I don't even know honestly, man, I cover this story for weeks now. I'm not even sure anymore what this is about. I mean, I'm not sure what's going on here. I thought it was about the protesters in the streets, but that seems to have died, right? The protesters that they started killing protesters and we did nothing and the world stopped covering it and now they're not protesting anymore. And then, of course, the protests got really big because when they first started, Trump came out and goes, if you overthrow the government, I've got your back. And then he didn't have their back. And now the protests seem to be over. And yet we still have cruisers and battleships and aircraft carriers in the Gulf. We seem to be getting ready for something. There's a lot of people that will tell you that we're getting ready to do Israel's dirty work. And I'll say, well, why would we do that? And then they say stuff like, well, because of the Epstein files. And I'm like, oh, fuck this. Fuck this. But that's what's going on. Something's going on. We want something out of Iran. I'm not entirely sure what it is other than, hey, don't be dicks anymore. So this brings us back to Khomeini, or however they pronounce the damn name. He's the new guy there. Khomeini, he went on Twitter, which is so weird. Like you don't think that like a radical Islamic Ayatollah leader of a people, you don't think that this guy's going to, be sitting on the toilet. You think that of Trump's going to be like, just shit tweeting, literally. You don't think of it as, I don't think of that as Khomeini. But anyway, Khomeini, he tweeted this. And by the way, I didn't know this was real. I was like, is this real? I asked Grok 3 times. Okay. Oh, good. I asked Grok 3 times. The first time I asked Grok, I said, Grok, is this real? Grok said, no, this is not real. This does not match anything. This looks like it comes from a parody account. I'm like, okay. But then I started reading like actual news reports about the tweet. And so I went and I asked Grok again, and Grok is like, yes, this is real. He said it, blah, blah, blah. And that's actually the version of it that I have right here. So apparently this is real. Like I said, I vetted this 3 different ways. I used Google AI and I used Grok twice. Grok gave me 2 answers. So here we go. This is from the Ayatollah Khomeini. You can see right here. I asked Grok, is this real? And Grok says yes. This is a real post from Khomeini IR's verified account, posted on February 17, 2026. All right, so here it comes. This is the post now from the Ayatollah Khomeini. He says, "This island of corruption is only one example. There is much more of this. Just as this was not apparent and then became exposed, there are many other things that will soon come to light," says the Ayatollah Khomeini. We got Khomeini going after Trump on the Epstein stuff. This is the Ayatollah Khomeini telling the world on social media that he's got dirt on Donald Trump, and the Epstein stuff is just the beginning. You people have no idea. And let me tell you, I believe completely that other world leaders know things about Donald Trump, but I think Donald Trump's got things on other. I think we are involved in sort of a, what do they call it, a Mexican standoff? Of just a bunch of powerful people who are threatening to expose the absolute worst about him. Khomeini is now using it to defend his nation, saying that Trump, if you attack Iran, this island of corruption is only one example. Now, what does he mean by that, this island of corruption? He's talking about Epstein Island. He's talking about the recent revelations here in America about the Epstein controversy and all of that. Khomeini is being a little clever. This island of corruption is only one example. There is much more of this. Just as this was not apparent and then became exposed, there are many other things that will soon come to light. Ooh, bring it on. All right, so it is interesting, though, because Trump has been acting like he's going to attack Iran for a very long time. I mean, we're going on a couple of months now. We've actually got serious military hardware there within striking distance. We're doing these talks with Witkoff and Kushner, Sonny Boy. I mean, it's serious. They're like, these talks are like typically the final talks before something happens. So now that, and the talks aren't going well, by the way, and I think that's part of the reason that Khomeini put this out there. He's like, all right, the talks aren't going well. Your next move is probably you think you're just going to bomb us. But let me tell you something, Donnie. I got some stuff here. The Iranian Secret Service got, because Iran is friends with Russia. I mean, come on, man. They got shit. If you don't think there's people out there with shit on Trump, then you're just not watching, okay? You're not processing what you're seeing in the way the rest of us are. And that is not to say that, Trump's the only one that's got dirt. No, they probably all got dirt. I think Trump's got a lot more of it, though, if I'm being honest. I think Trump's got I think he's very compromised. All right, so that's happening there. Let's talk about what's going on also in California. While some people are searching for the skiers, other people are trying to figure out the effects of social media on our kids. Mark Zuckerberg is set to testify today in a trial out there. This concerns social media platforms and their, should we say, not willingness, but their knowledge, their understanding that what they were building is detrimental to teens, young people in their minds. Plaintiffs accuse the owners of Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Snap of knowingly designing addictive products harmful to young users. This is mental health and stuff like that. Historically, it goes on to say, social media platforms have been largely shielded by Section 230, a provision added to the Communications Act of 1934 that says internet companies are not liable for content users post. Okay, so we understand that. So what has indemnified the social media, the tech bros, what has indemnified them thus far for all of the horrors that they've reaped across our teenage landscape is this thing that was what year is this? I think it was about 15 years ago when we first started to make social media and connectivity and all that so important and such a driving force in our lives. They sort of looked at it, the government looked at it, and they, wanted to know if somebody, posts. Point is this: they protected the tech bros. They said that the tech bros were not liable for people posting horrible shit about other people on their platforms. And I don't entirely disagree with that. The problem is that it's no longer people that we're talking about. We are talking about algorithms and bots. We are talking about bots now doing things. And do bots enjoy the same privileges that a human would enjoy? These are bots, and they're building these bots, and they're tweaking the algorithm so that these bots do these things. So that's why this is a pretty big case, because they're able, these plaintiffs' attorneys feel like they're going to be able to show that we're not just simply talking about whether or not Mark Zuckerberg's responsible for one person being mean to another person on Facebook. Obviously, he's not. We are talking about, is Mark Zuckerberg responsible for building an entire system that will deliberately fuck with kids' heads? And I think the answer to that is yes. And a lot of other people do as well. That's why this is such an important day. Mark Zuckerberg is going to testify. All right, it says here, let's see here. Internet companies are not liable for content that users post. TikTok and Snap reached a settlement with the first plaintiff in this case, a 20-year-old woman identified in court as KGM. The companies remain defendants in a series of similar lawsuits expected to go to trial this year. Okay, so in one case, I mean, it doesn't sound like it's a class action, but it does sound like there's a bunch of people who are coming together in one case. But there was the first case, which wasn't with this case. That case settled with TikTok and Snap. They gave this 20-year-old girl who said, "You guys fucked my head," they gave her money. KGM, who was a minor at the time of the incidents, outlined in her lawsuits, claims her early use of social media led to addiction and worsened her mental health problems. Her lawsuit alleges that social media companies made deliberate... all right, here's the important part. Her lawsuit alleged that social media companies made deliberate design choices to make their platforms more addictive to children for purposes of profits. Her attorney, Mark Lanier, appeared optimistic when arriving in court, telling reporters, "It's going to be a good day for us." Zuckerberg's testimony today comes 1 week after Adam Mosseri, the head of Meta's Instagram, defended the platform in court, arguing that social media platforms are not intentionally engineered to be addictive. I have to tell you, I am addicted to, I am trying to quit Twitter. I've been telling you for a long time that I'm trying to quit Twitter. I can't quit it. I can't quit it. I hate everybody on Twitter. Not everybody. Some of you are cool. But most of the people, it is a very evil place where I just feel nothing but bad when I leave there. When I leave Twitter, it's because I say I can't take any more of this and I close it. I never leave Twitter going, "Oh, I feel fulfilled. That's good. What's next?" And I was trying to figure this out. Do you know that there was a point last week where I had my laptop up on Twitter and I had my phone in my hand on Twitter? And I caught myself doing this. And I went, "What the fuck?" And I put the phone down and I closed the laptop and then I stared at TV for 5 minutes. And then when TV sucks compared to social media, why? Because TV isn't deliberately designed to give you that endorphin, which is what Twitter does, which is why it's so fucking... They knew what they were doing. I remember when my kid was born in 2009, I remember thinking, I was excited and happy. I remember thinking, I'm like, I'm going to make him a Facebook page. And I couldn't. There were like things in place that said you can't start a Facebook page for anyone under 13. So I thought, okay, 13, but is that not a law anymore? Like, because we're talking about kids under 13 in this lawsuit. Are they doing? I don't. Well, once again, when we talk about internet, being responsible and trying to keep certain types of content away from kids, we know the levels that they'll go to. They'll have porn sites where a pop-up will go, "Are you 18? Yes or no?" That's it. That's the level of their involvement in trying to stop kids from looking at porn or whatever. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I guess the greater question for us parents is these new experiences that our kids are having, where they grow up with a screen, where they grow up being constantly connected to their friends. We argue they don't go out anymore. Well, they don't go out because all their friends are in their room, right? My kid stays in his room, and he's got 2 flat screen TVs, and he's got a phone, and he's got a monitor, and he's got friends on all the fucking screens. And it's like they're all hanging out, but they're not actually hanging out. And we who are used to a different experience, we who come from different generations, we see this and we go, I don't like it because it ain't what I did. And that's kind of how I feel. When I see my kid, I'm like, would you get your face out of the phone? And I know he's just like every other kid. And when I see that, I get angry. But then I also think, but this is just who they are. This is what humanity is turning into. We are no longer a face-to-face social species. There was an article last week that I almost discussed on the air, but I didn't. It talked about how young men have no game. Young men, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, they don't know how to talk to girls. They don't know how to meet girls in real life because because the confidence that one enjoys when you're flirting with a girl on Facebook or whatever is quite different than when you're actually standing there looking at the girl and saying these things that you would so cavalierly type out. But I don't know. I can't pretend that I know what's good, what's better. This might be progress. This might be better. Maybe we are shifting humanity into something else. I don't know. Maybe we aren't going to need. I don't know. But I do know that this is a massive, massive day out there in California. And we're all going to be talking about what Mark Zuckerberg says on the stand. So stay tuned for that. I don't know if it's, what is it, like 11 o'clock in the morning there? I don't know if he's going to be on in the afternoon or what, but maybe now. Anybody in the chat room? This is usually where April steps up. She's like, he's on the stand now. Yeah, all right. I don't see it. Adam says, come on, Pugs, you can't rail against AI and use it all the time. I really don't use it all the time. I don't know what. I mean, I'm not really good with that stuff. I use Grok on Twitter, and then the Google AI on my homepage I've been using just to kind of get familiar with it, but I don't really I don't know how to use AI. I don't really use AI all that much. But he is right. He's right, like railing against it. AI is the thing. AI is the thing in this world, and it ain't going away. It ain't stopping. It is going to change the way everything is done. It is going to unemploy half the globe. Robots will unemploy the other half. It seems to me from where I am that we, the worker bees, we, the peasants, are the ones that are getting fucked royally again. While the 1%, the group of people who sit atop Mount Olympus of capitalism, they're going to reap all of the profits from being able to eliminate every job. It's just going to be nothing but profit for them. That's how I see it sitting here today. I don't know if that'll be the reality. I don't know what's coming. I don't know, man. Here's what I do understand at this stage of my life. Grab a surfboard. Let's hit the waves, because I'm just going to ride out whatever the fuck comes next. I do kind of have a bad feeling, though, about how I'm going to die. I do. I'm pretty sure I'm going to die in a camp. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I just feel that at my age, if the country keeps going the way that it's kind of going, unless we have some wholesale, swift change, the way it's going, yeah, I mean, I see myself in my 70s, dying of some horrible disease on a cot in a camp. On a cot in a camp because of something I tweeted in February of 2026. I don't know, man. I don't know. All right. What else do we have here? Yeah, let's get into this. All right. So, Obviously, one of the big stories yesterday that I would have talked about would have been the situation concerning one of my favorite guys, the Texas senatorial candidate, James Talarico. I love James Talarico. I've loved him for a couple of years now. He's one of them, from the first time I saw him, I went, okay, he's different. He sounds different. His vibe is different. His fucking eyes are different. You look at his eyes. I'm sorry. Look, I don't know how to even explain this or put it into a context. I'm good at judging people. I'm good at being able to tell when somebody is full of shit. And James Talarico is involved in a pretty rough primary battle down there in Texas for the Democratic nomination. This is for Cornyn's seat, right? That's what they're running against. Whoever gets the nomination is going to run for whoever gets the nomination between Cornyn and Paxton. And Talarico is running against Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett, who is a very high profile. She is known from coast to coast. She is a congresswoman who gets a lot of screen time. She's all right, look, let me just tell you this about Jasmine Crockett. There's no reason for me to hedge it. I fucking like her. I like her a lot, man. I do. I like her. I like her nails. She's smart. Listen to this dummy. Yeah, I am listening to her. She's not dumb. She's smart. You're dumb. She's smarter than you. She just talks in a way that you don't understand. She's way smart. She is quick. She is quick and she is smart. Jasmine Crockett is. And she is smart to have anchored herself to a movement, the Squad movement, I would argue, from about 5 years ago. Remember the Squad? She kind of is the latest in that group of women who are roundly demonized by the right, just simply for being, brown women with an opinion. And Jasmine Crockett has sort of, gotten into that. If you hate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, you hate Jasmine Crockett, right? She's been branded by Fox News, Newsmax, or anybody else you want to say. My desire to see James Talarico defeat her isn't because I don't think she'd be great. I do think she'd be great. My desire is because James Talarico hasn't been branded yet. He hasn't. He'll rise up and they'll be like, oh, we don't have 3 years of Jesse Waters doing rants about James Talarico the way we do about him having rants about Jasmine Crockett and her nails and her hair or whatever. By the way, she's also hot. Jasmine Crockett's hot. That's a hot woman. What? Yeah, she's a hot woman, man. I think she's very sexy. Anyway, I don't think she's electable statewide in Texas. That's really where it comes down to for me. Why do I think James Talarico is a better choice? I think it's simply because of that, because of the years of relentless branding that Jasmine Crockett has had to endure. Jasmine Crockett is not going to get one single vote from some fucking farmer and his wife or their community of 50 people in the middle of Texas. And there's a lot of those communities. And those communities add up. I think those communities are more likely, if they are a little bit disturbed by what they're seeing out of MAGA, and a lot of good people are, I think those people are more likely to cast their vote for James Talarico than for Jasmine Crockett. Again, not because they're racist, not because they're this or that. It's because Jasmine Crockett has been on the radar longer and the Republicans have destroyed her. They have branded her as somebody that's just what they do. They shit on you relentlessly until you are just someone who doesn't even know politics. They'll know your name, and they'll know your name because they've heard how shitty you are. That's just what they do. So Talarico, he's been my guy. I've been telling you about him, and he's scaring people. He's mostly scaring people on the right. People on the right understand exactly what it is that I see. That this is a guy that, when you get him out of Texas, he becomes a national figure immediately. You give him a Senate seat out of the state of Texas, James Talarico, he becomes the most talked about politician from coast to coast, which makes him almost instantly a presidential threat in 2028. It's just true. That's what the smart people on the right are seeing in this guy. The smart people on the right so desperately want Jasmine Crockett. The people, the money, the way it's always been, what they want is Paxton versus Crockett in Texas. That's what they want. They want a referendum on somebody that they have painted as far-right, crazy lib, and the responsible people of Texas MAGA in Ken Paxton. That's the one. That's the one they want, and they'll win that. That's how Ken Paxton gets to be the senator. Ken fucking Paxton gets to be a United States senator. That's how Texas ends up being represented by Ted Cruz and Ken Paxton. Wow. I love fucking Texas. It's where I would prefer to live. But holy shit, is that embarrassing. That is embarrassing. That is historically embarrassing. Ted Cruz and James Talarico, now we got a balance. Now we got, okay, that's a state that is definitely representing the entirety of the country and the state itself, because that's really what we're finding out. We're finding out that these regions of the country that used to be one way and solid one way because of migration, because of COVID, because of jobs, because of tech moving their things from states that are typically blue and tax heavy to states that are red, are not, now we're seeing new sort of pollinations of people. Now is the time. That would be fine. Ted Cruz and James Talarico. That's what I would be proud in Texas to be able to say that. We got a Republican, we got a Democrat, everybody's represented. But holy shit, Ted Cruz and Ken Paxton, that's scary. All right, so Talarico is starting to, well, fundraising is important because he's not taking, or he says he's not taking, big PAC money and all that kind of stuff. He's doing grassroots fundraising. So it is important that James Talarico running for the Senate in Texas, it is important for him to get money from outside sources. So he does on some level have to create more of a national presence. And one of the ways you do that is you go on shows. And if you're exciting enough, the bigger shows will want to have you on. That's why Talarico was invited to go on the Stephen Colbert show. Stephen Colbert is an obvious anti-Trump talk show host. Obviously. Well, he should be off the air if he's anti-Trump. What? What country do you live in? The fuck are you talking about? He shouldn't be off the air because he's anti-Trump. He's allowed to be anti-Trump. If he can, sustain the job. And by the way, he's not sustaining the job. He's gone in May. But again, not because of ratings. We broke that whole thing down. He's gone in May because talk shows are going away. Because the Johnny Carson model where you pay a dude like Stephen Colbert $50 million a year to draw 1/10 the audience some rando on YouTube gets, that can't sustain itself. So the late night TV model, trust me, when all of these guys come up for their next big contracts, they're all going to go the way of Colbert. It just so happens that Colbert was also caught up in this whole anti-Trump, constantly criticizing the administration and all of that. So he has that. But again, it was announced that he was going away in May of last year. He's not going away till May of this year. And yet you still have like MAGA people going, see, we got him fired. Well, no, you didn't. What you did is maybe he's a dead man walking in the halls of CBS, but he's got a big fucking contract and they're keeping him until May. And he is not backing down in any way, shape, or form. So Stephen Colbert, who hates his bosses at CBS, and that's a whole nother story, because CBS is now completely corrupted with their fucking Ellison, Paramount, Skydance merger bullshit. Barry Weiss being put in charge of the news department to keep these people in line because they don't want any trouble, while Skydance and the Ellisons are trying to get Trump to approve this merger, even though it's not Trump's job to approve the merger. But somehow we live in twisted times where now the president gets to do this. So that's what's going on with CBS. CBS is desperately trying not to appear to be anti-Trump in any way, shape, or form, even though they still have Colbert there. And to CBS's credit, Colbert has been allowed unchecked, essentially, until 2 nights ago, to do his show no matter how he wants. Even the response show that he did last night wasn't censored. And it was really hard on CBS, and it was really hard on the president. So, I don't know that CBS is being overtly fascist, but I do think that CBS would prefer that Stephen Colbert shut his mouth about Trump, because, as we said, this Paramount, Skydance, Warner Brothers, Netflix bullshit that's been going on for months is still very active, and we are talking about multitudes of billions and billions of dollars at stake here. So CBS wants their people to be good. No more no long form 60-minute exposés on the Trump White House and how they're all fucking idiots. Nope. Those have been cut. Those have been scrapped. Stephen Colbert, we're not renewing his contract. That's the best we can do. We can't fire him. We'd be on the hook for $50 million. So we got to let, so that's, that's what they're doing there. So Colbert decides that he wants to have Talarico on the show. So Colbert has Talarico on the show, and they get a memo from CBS that says they're not allowed to have Talarico on the show. And whether or not Stephen Colbert is a showman, so I don't know what's true or not. I do know all the background about what CBS is doing and what CBS would prefer. And I know that CBS isn't the most trustworthy of brands. They are no longer the Tiffany brand. They're no longer Walter Cronkite. They're no longer William Paley. CBS is now Barry Weiss and Peter Thiel and Ellison's, and that's what they are. Whatever Trump wants, because we need him to okay the merger, because then we're all going to get rich, and then we'll go back to not caring what CBS says about Trump. But right now, they are absolutely engaged in at least wanting their people, at least not allowing overtly critical content. Colbert being the exception. So Colbert wants to have Talarico on. Here's the story. Let's see. I don't know how to get into the story. We know the story. Here's how the story played out. We were told when we woke up yesterday that Stephen Colbert was not allowed by CBS to air the interview that he did with James Talarico. So the CBS or Stephen Colbert decided that he was going to not broadcast it on television, broadcast TV. Here's my antenna. I'm catching the signal. Anybody can get it. That's broadcast TV, old-timey click, click, click TV. He's not going to put it on broadcast TV, which falls under the jurisdiction of the Federal Communications Commission, which is what CBS cited as their reason for having concern about the interview with James Talarico. See, there's a little thing that used to be called oh my God, just equal time. I'm sorry, the Equal Time Act. That word just completely left my head. And I know this as a talk show host, although it never really applied and I never really paid attention to it because nobody ever fucking said anything. But what it says is it's designed so that a host who particularly wants a candidate, a host with a significant platform, it is designed so that that host can't just have the candidate that he likes on. He must also have the other candidate on. It's equal time, and it is long applied to news and information shows and stuff like that. What it is never applied to is talk shows, late night talk shows, going all the way back to Bill Clinton showing up on Arsenio Hall playing the saxophone. It is never applied. In so much as 1 year ago, Brendan Carr, who is the chairman of the FCC, made a statement, and the statement is all over video now, talking about how the equal time rule does not apply to late night talk shows, although he is considering changing that. He said that a year ago. He admitted freely that it doesn't apply. So why is CBS, that hasn't changed. He said a year ago that this doesn't apply, equal time doesn't apply to comedy or entertainment-based talk shows. He said that, and then he said, I'm thinking about changing it. But you see, he never did change it. That was never changed. There was never any kind of a hearing or anything that changed that. Nobody was ever told that was changed. And CBS went to Stephen Colbert 2 nights ago acting as if it had been changed. You understand? Like CBS is like preemptively going, well, they don't like this kind of thing. And although it is legal, it is still okay. You can do it here. It's never been challenged on a talk show. See Bill Clinton playing the saxophone. It's never been challenged on a talk. And every time a fucking host is, or a candidate has been on Saturday Night Live or whatever, it doesn't apply. Never has. But we here at CBS, we're telling you, Stephen, we think they're thinking about changing it, so we're going to preemptively tell you that we're uncomfortable with you airing your James Talarico interview unless you want to have Jasmine Crockett on. That was the response. That is what we were told. That was what we woke up to. That's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit because Jasmine Crockett has been on his show twice. Yeah, nobody's really talking about that, but Jasmine Crockett has been a guest on the Stephen Colbert Show twice. So he has already covered the equal time thing. So it was just bullshit being put on this show by CBS, who's trying to suck the D of President Trump because they want him to somehow side with them Paramount and Skydance in this acquisition of Warner Brothers. That's what this is all about. Whoa, what just happened here? Hold on, something weird just happened on my screen. Oh, it's Ed. Okay. Hold on. So let me see here. All right, so they put it on YouTube. He doesn't get to be on the show. The show that should have had Talarico but didn't is instead a massive hit. Everybody's watching that show because the response from Colbert was way better and way more entertaining than what the interview with Talarico was. That was over on YouTube, by the way, 10 million hits later. Like if Talarico had just gone on the Colbert show and been interviewed, maybe 1 million people would have seen him. But because CBS did this, because Colbert was able to capitalize on it, they were able to turn this into a major story that now tens of millions of people, I don't know about tens of millions, I have to check the latest YouTube Colbert account numbers on that, but over 10 million people have watched it. We're talking like 10 times the amount of people are now familiar with James Talarico than were before this. And I say, mission fucking accomplished. He has made so much money in the last 48 hours off of the fundraising. Remember, the deal was go on this show. Maybe some people in New York, maybe some Dems in New York, maybe some Dems in California, maybe some Dems in Illinois, maybe some Dems in Ohio. They'll see you, James, on Colbert, and they'll drop a little money. They'll support you. They'll be like, oh, this kid, I think this guy is good. This guy might be somebody. They never expected what they got. I mean, they are like, fuck, here, where's the numbers on the money? Sorry, I know Ed is poking around on the screen right now, and hold on. I'm going to let Ed fin. There he goes. Thank you, Eddie. Talarico says it should be troubling to all of us, regardless of our political affiliations or our political beliefs, that the most powerful people in the country, the most powerful politicians, and the most powerful corporate executives are working together to sell out the First Amendment, to sell out our freedom of speech in order to protect their own power and their own wealth, Talarico said. And that should be concerning to all of us, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, whether you're a progressive or a conservative, because an attack on any one of our First Amendment rights is an attack on all of our First Amendment rights. And he's absolutely correct. He's absolutely correct. And I know it's worked because ever since this, the coordinated backlash against Talarico from the right in the right bots is amazing. It's all of these, the world's worst Christians. You know, it's like an account that's obviously in a bot account, but it says like Reverend Joel Witkoff, right? And it's got a big American flag in it, and, you know, and he's in the picture and he's got a MAGA hat with Jesus behind him. That guy. Those people are trying to shift the narrative on the kind of fucking Christian that James Talarico are. These awful fucking people who are obviously not real. This is obviously Reverend James. He's not fucking real. Okay. These fucking people are trying to convince dummies out there that their version of Christianity is or that Talarico's version of Christianity is heresy. He seems like one of the fucking nicest guys you've ever met. He seems really devout. He's a seminarian. You know, he's a seminarian who isn't trying to open up a fucking strip mall based church, right? He's a seminarian who's just going to seminary school so that he can feel closer to his God and understand his message more. He's a real fucking Christian. And the bad Christians, the American Taliban Christians, they see this and are really frightened, because here's a charismatic young guy who came out of nowhere who was speaking the word of Jesus in a way that they haven't been from their pulpits for the last 20 years. So they are fucking wigged out. Thank you, Ed. What is Ed doing? We just had a rainbow cum shot all over. Did you guys see that? That was awesome. I don't know what's happening here. Okay, you know, what else do we have here? Is there? Oh, okay. Let's play this. You know what? Ed's poking around. I don't know if we can play this. I don't want to interrupt what Ed's doing, because whatever Ed is doing is probably really fucking important. All right, let's just see how this goes. So last night or yesterday afternoon, CBS in response to their host, Stephen Colbert, doing a whole dog and pony show about CBS wouldn't let me have Talarico. So go to our YouTube page and watch it there. That's what Stephen Colbert did, made a whole bunch of hay, became a big story. In response to this, CBS issued an official statement yesterday claiming that they never told him that he couldn't have Talarico on. That this was not how it went down. They had concerns and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, CBS denied it all. So Stephen Colbert, who again is on fumes, dead man walking, Steve, what did he do? Whatever the hell he just did, it is awesome. Is Ed, look at Ed fixing the chat room. I'm streaming and I lost my stream of thought because I'm just very pleased with what I'm seeing. But now I can't see the chat room at all. So don't go anywhere, Ed. Can't see the chat room. You know what we're going to do? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take a break because I got to go to the bathroom real quick. So I'm going to take a break. We're going to let Ed do his Ed thing, and he'll probably have it all fixed up. I'm going to finish up on this Talarico thing. We're going to listen to the response from Colbert last night. Oh, look at that. Another very good friend of mine just calling in the middle of my show. I love when my very close friends have no idea what I do. Thanks for the support, Pally. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll let Ed finish up whatever it is he's got to do. I just don't want to get in his way because whatever he's doing is important. So let me take a quick break. I'm going to get some coffee, and we'll come back on the other side of this. We'll finish up the Talarico Colbert thing. We'll see how Colbert responded to CBS last night, and then we'll talk to Maddie. Maddie's going to tell us about what Shia LaBeouf is getting into down there in New Orleans because he is all over the place. He's only been arrested once, which is amazing. But there is like 10 different videos of Shia LaBeouf down there just being, well, Shia LaBeouf. So all that and more. Quick break. I'll be back after this. Hold on. What's going on here? Oh, there we go. All right, back after this. All right, there we go. Look at what happened here, huh? All right, I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at now. The screen looks I'm fine. Whatever. If you're fine, chat room, there is no. All right. All right. I took a little break there, folks. Stepped away, and Ed did his magic. Ed was fixing the screen because we all hated that transparent sort of chat thing that we had on the side. That was very, very ugly. Although very modern looking, it looks very much like the stuff you see on TikTok. We didn't like it, so now we're back to this. I hold on. Oh, chat. There we go. All right. I'm sorry. I was confused, and now I'm not. And now we're back. Look who's in the chat room. It's Mama B. Mama B is in the chat room. Mama B, we were talking about before we went on the break, the whole situation with CBS and Colbert and James Talarico and Jasmine Crockett and all the whole thing that's coming about at that. Mama B says, I'm proud to be a Christian and like Talarico, believe there should be a separation of church and state. Unlike the persons who call themselves the Christian, right? How can they call themselves Christians with all the hate they spew? That's Mama B right there. I've known that woman for 40 years. I've known that woman for more than 40 years. That is Mama B. She has always walked the walk. All right. So before we went into that break, I was going through the whole Talarico thing, and I told you about how CBS yesterday afternoon, after Stephen Colbert claimed that they banned him from having Talarico on the broadcast, again, making a difference between a broadcast and a stream, or CBS told the world that they never banned Talarico from the broadcast and that this was all being made up or whatever. All right. So fast forward to last night's Stephen Colbert show. Stephen Colbert comes on and he does this. This is what he had to say. Let's watch, shall we? This was his response to CBS, basically saying, all of that last night was bullshit. We didn't tell you couldn't have him on. All right. So here we go. Sorry, guys. I don't know which is which. Hold on. Nope. Let's do this. Yep. There we go. All right. All right, here you go. So this was last night's Colbert show, him responding to CBS saying, we never told you couldn't. Now we have a problem. What we can't. Hold on. All right, we'll do this. All right, we'll do it like this with the chat room when I'm sharing videos. Problem solved. Look at us.
Because of something called the equal time rule. And that rule says that if a show...
Hold on. Also, he did this joke last night, right? This is not James Talarico. This is somebody who looks like, similar to James Talarico, but this is not a picture of James Talarico. All right, let's watch it.
Channel
CBS is saying we did not tell him this. CBS issued a statement yesterday saying that we didn't stop Stephen. So now this is Stephen's response to what CBS said. Somebody is lying. I love a good media feud, especially when it concerns a parent company and a host. That I'll tell you, man, I would love to be who Stephen Colbert is right now. Let me tell you what Stephen Colbert is right now. Stephen Colbert is extremely wealthy, although he was wealthy to begin with. He comes from a family with money. He's wealthy. He's relatively young. Hold on. All right. Am I off the air? Chat room. I need the chat room to chime in. Maddie is telling me that we are off the air, but my side of things does not say anything. Dang. Oh my God. Oh, thank you, Ed. Oops. Yep. All right. We're off the air. Yeah. I don't know what's going on, guys. What the fuck am I even talking about? All right. Are we on the air? Can anybody hear this?